Across the country, Brits are facing an ever-present and ever-evolving danger: scams. And because we all now do so much online, whether it's shopping from the sofa or banking on the bus, every one of us is at risk. We're constantly carrying around sensitive personal information right here in our pockets. But that also means that wherever we are, whatever we're doing, scammers are out to get us. I'm Alexis Conrad. In this series, I'm crisscrossing the UK to learn your stories. The cruel. How much did you pay?
4,400.
I just fell for it, hook, line and sinker, really.
The creepy.
They had my signature on this contract, and I was just really dumbfounded.
And the crazy.
The fake account trying to say that your account is fake.
Because I didn't post saying that they were fake.
I'm going to teach you to better protect yourselves.
We need to know, verify, verify, verify.
How to get your money back.
Very simple service here. It's 159 from any mobile phone.
And how other people are taking up the fight.
That's genius! I'm also going to dig a little deeper to try and explain how and why these scams work. Because whether they text you, email you, phone you, or post in your timeline, there are ways of spotting scammers for who they are.
This time, the front lines of financial fraud. How scammers can get your money for nothing.
When did you realise that this was a scam?
Well, she hung up.
How a robbery can clean out your bank account.
So the first thing I did was panic, as any other person I think would have done.
And good ways to stop a scam in its tracks.
Slow down, take your time, and ask yourself, is this likely?
For more than 20 years now, I've been investigating the world of scams, and I've watched that world get bigger and bigger.
In the year to April 2022, there were more than 960,000 cases of fraud and computer misuse reported to the police in England and Wales. And to put that in context, in the same period, there were only 260,000 cases of burglary reported. That makes fraud 3.5 times more common than burglary.
After all, scammers can now rob us from the comfort of their own homes. So why risk breaking into ours? That's what Angela, an NHS administrator from Bournemouth, discovered. It started with a WhatsApp message from a number she didn't recognise. She assumed it was from Ed, one of her sons.
All of a sudden, I got this message on my mobile, and he says, "Hi, Mum, how are you?"
The Colombian-born Angela responded as she always did with her kids, in Spanish.
And I just said, "Es Ed?" So he said, "Yes, it is Ed."
This was the opening the scammer was looking for. With just 2 words, Angela has confirmed she does have children, and one of them is called Ed. The scam is now on, and incredibly, the scammers are ready to run it in Spanish.
Because he had gone to Mexico, and it had been a few months. I just said, his Spanish is gone so well. He said, "Please, Mom, I need your help. I'm in a lot of bother. So I forgot to pay these bills, and I need to pay them now."
It was in the middle of a hectic hospital shift, and Angela had little time to think, so she quickly paid online from her savings account. Then Ed messaged her back.
He said, plece, Mom, I need another one." And I said, "Can I phone you now?" He said, "No, don't phone me. I am on the other line at the moment." But I did try the phone, but it was engaged.
She paid again. Then there was a third request for money, and a fourth. By now, Angela's bank was refusing to just wave the transactions through, but her so-called son had a solution.
He said, Mom, please phone the bank straight away, and you must not mention me. but I don't know why and why I did it. I silly phoned the bank, and I just said, I want to approve these transactions I've made.
The scammers probably knew the bank would start asking questions, and they were ready. They asked Angela to mislead the bank, which should have been a big red flag.
And they did ask me, are you sure that this is not a scam? But in my mind, it didn't. I didn't register the word scam because I was so sure that it was my son who was on the other line. Well, in total was £10,000 that the scammer took.
It was only after hours of requests for more and more money that Angela began to have her doubts.
For some reason, all of a sudden, it just came to my mind and I said, what is the name of your teddy bear when you were a child? And this person didn't answer absolutely nothing. So then I just said, you're not dead, you're not dead. And I just let it. But then the money had gone.
This is a good tactic from Angela. Only the real Ed would know the answer to this question. The scammer is stumped, and he starts to panic.
And then what he did is, yes, I am your son, I am Ed, Mom, I am Ed, please help me, I've got another transaction. It was hard for me to come to terms with it, to know that by money, people get to your feelings and put you in that situations of your children, your family. It's horrible. It really is horrible, the way it made me feel.
In many ways, Angela was really unlucky. The scammers caught her when she was busy at her place of work. She did have a son who was abroad and may have needed money. And also she had money available there and then. But what's really shocking was the sophistication of the scammers' attack. They even managed to switch languages halfway through the scam, and within a matter of hours, they managed to get hold of thousands of pounds. So it's not just luck. These people are professional criminals who know exactly what they're doing.
The mum and dad scam started out on the messaging service WhatsApp, but now it's spreading around the country on other platforms like text messages. Throughout this series, I'll be showing you simple ways to spot scams like this and help you defeat them.
Okay, mum and dad scam. 3 simple steps to remember. Number 1, call. Call the number that you've always had for that contact. Not the number they gave you, call the original number. Chances are they'll pick up and say, no, I haven't been texting you. Scam stops right there. Number 2, truth. Always tell the truth. When your bank asks you, why are you sending this money? Tell them the truth. Because if you've missed something, your bank might be able to pick up on that and save you from being scammed. Also, if your son or your daughter, whoever's contacting you, is telling you to lie to the bank, then you know that something's off. Number 3 is time. Okay? Time. Take your time. Most of these scams rely on bamboozling you into doing something really quickly. They will always tell you it's an emergency. Slow down, take your time, and ask yourself, is this likely?
A combination of these will give you a good chance of avoiding a scam. There is, however, one thing that many banks do now ask you to do. Scan one of these, a QR code.
Now, what is a QR code? Well, essentially, it's a link. It's a link in a picture form. But whoever's trying to give you that link doesn't need to know your number. They don't need to send you a text message or an email or anything. What you do is you navigate to that link by simply pointing your camera onto that picture, and then it recognizes where that wants to take you. It says to me, alexisconran.com, and it's taking me to my website. So it's pretty handy. However, there are a few problems with QR codes. Just by looking at it, you don't know where it's going to take you. So what do we do with them? Well, we're just as suspicious of QR codes as we should be with all links, which means if you don't know who it's come from and if you don't know where it's going to take you, don't click on it. One of the many unresolved questions about this case is how that one very simple action gave the scammers access to all of the money.
In every program in this series, I'll be asking a tech expert like my friend Mike Godfrey to help me find out. We've set up our own account with the same bank that Christina was using.
We've got an account, you're the scammer, how can you take hold? Because as far as I know, my account is on my phone, it's secure, I've got to have passwords, Face ID to get into my phone, then I have to have a password to get into my account. So I'm feeling quite secure right now.
Unfortunately, that's not the case. Although what you said is absolutely correct, your phone is reasonably secure, you have Face ID, PIN codes, etc. When it comes to logging in on the web, it's a completely different story.
So why is that?
So if we navigate to the login page for the bank we're talking about, so what we'd expect to see on this page is email, password, login credentials effectively. But in fact, what we get when we navigate to it is this QR code. Now, what needs to happen is you need to scan this QR code with your phone. So if we can get you this QR code, we can get access to your account.
And you'd accompany it with an email saying, what, your account's been compromised?
Anything it takes to get you to scan it. So
Right.
yeah, your account's been compromised, you need to scan this QR code, a new pay has been added, scan this QR code to check it, anything that's convincing.
Okay, so that's popped up.
Yep. So if you now take out your phone, open the app from this bank.
So I've unlocked my phone, I've unlocked the app with my passcode.
Yep.
Now I need to log into my computer.
So if you now scan the version of this QR code which I've sent to you, so I'm not going to touch this device at all, and you'll see that now, because you've scanned that QR code even remotely, this has now given us access to your account.
Hang on, so I'm at home, you've sent me an email saying, please scan this QR code because your account's been compromised to identify it's you. I've used my app, my phone, my app, my laptop, but my account's now opened up on your machine. That is crazy. And now you're in my account, you've got all my details, everything just there.
So yeah, of course, we can see the account details, we can see all of the payments that have been made, received, etc. Now that could be enough to commit fraud.
And it's also, again, forgive me, Mike, because when we always have these conversations, what we've done today is required no tech, hacking, it's just a little bit of social engineering.
It's the balance of convenience and security, isn't it? And that's the difficult thing. And what you find with a lot of these disruptor banks is that although most of them have very good apps, when it comes to web-based versions, the technology just isn't sophisticated enough to stop these types of attacks.
God, that is frightening.
So far, so scary. But because her bank only exists online, and because Christina only had a basic account, she can only report scams via the chat function in her app. So she started a chat. And she waited.
So how much time has elapsed now between you first reporting the scam and nothing happening?
I would say maybe a week and a
week?
half, or nearly 2 weeks.
So nearly 2 weeks you're sitting there dealing with chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Up until that moment, has the bank said anything to you about, okay, we're going to give you your money back?
No. Oh, definitely.
Did they offer anything?
I think they offered to return us 24 pence.
I'm sorry, what?
24 pence.
24 pence?
Yes.
How much money was taken out of the account?
£25,000.
25,000
Yeah.
is 24p.
Exactly.
And to this day, has the bank explained to you what happened?
Well, nobody really explained, no.
No.
No. They kind of blamed us. They said that that was our own fault because we scanned the QR code. We should have knew that nobody would call from the bank.
So they're basically saying it was your fault that someone called you with so much information that it was hugely convincing, sent you a QR code, and they said that that was your fault that you lost your money.
Yeah, exactly.
The bank's response to this scam, blaming Christina for scanning the QR code, is plainly wrong. The scammers who got in touch with her had so much detailed information on her, things that only really her bank should have known, that it made it so convincing. And I think any of us would have done the same thing.
The attack on Christina and the mum and dad scam are both part of a rising trend in banking fraud known as the authorized push payment scams, or APP, because the customer authorizes the payment themselves and sends or pushes it to the scammer. In 2021, APP scams cost us £532 million, overtaking credit card fraud for the first time.
Now, the good news for Christina is that there is a code in place, which means that she could get a full refund. But Christina was with a new bank, one of those online-only banks with the fancy apps, and quite a few of those have not signed up to this code of conduct. And that means that getting her money back might be a bit of a challenge.
The code is overseen by the Lending Standards Board, or LSB. I sat down with Emma Lovell, its chief executive.
So the code has different aspects to it in terms of protections for customers. The first are around prevention and detection measures to stop these scams happening in the first place. What the code also puts in place is that where someone unfortunately does fall victim to a scam, they will be reimbursed if their bank or building society is signed up to the code if they fell victim to a scam through no fault of their own.
Of the new challenger banks, there's quite a few of them, have any of them signed up to your code?
There are a number that have signed up, but not all of them.
Would you care to say in proportion, I know you don't want to name names, but would you care to say in percentage proportion, is the majority of them signed up?
No, I would not say the majority of them.
Right.
So we would like to see far more of them sign up, because ultimately the code is designed to protect customers and prevent these scams from happening in the first place. And really that's got to be the priority for all of industry and not just the firms that are currently signed up to the code.
What are the dangers there?
So the banks and building societies and challenger banks that are not signed up to the code, some of them have indicated publicly that they are working to the spirit and principles of the code. But to be very clear, there are not equal protections available to those customers of firms that are not signed up to the code.
Well, that was a really interesting chat, but I have to say one thing I came away with there is, would you know if you're with a bank that follows the code?
In fact, there's an easy way to find out. Visit the LSB's website, lendingstandardsboard.org.uk. Then click View Registered Firms on the homepage. If your bank isn't listed, ask them to sign up. But a dodgy link, or a dodgy QR code for that matter, is only useful to scammers if they can convince us to take the bait. To do that, they will often play on whatever anxieties are currently gripping the nation. Paul and Barbara Giel were tricked in that way, exposing both themselves and the food bank they help run from their church in Kidderminster.
With every box, we will send out a packet of cereal and a bag of that fresh food, plus bread that we receive from the local cooperative store. We are getting a lot of new referrals at the moment that are citing the utility crisis as being one of the main reasons why they can't afford to feed their families.
While Paul does much of the organising, Barbara looks after the food bank's finances via the church's online bank account. Right now, cost of living issues are a major concern for everyone. But back in May 2022, Barbara got a text about a different national crisis.
On the phone it said, this is an NHS alert. You've been in contact with somebody with COVID and you need to pay us 99p to get your test. I said to Paul, can I borrow your card? and just do it, you know.
At first, the Giels thought little more about it. But as they set off on their food bank delivery round, Paul did start to think about it.
We're out in the car talking. I said, it's a scam. You don't need to pay 99p for a test. The COVID tests at that point in May were still free. Somebody's trying to catch us out.
This is exactly what to do when something out of the ordinary happens. Paul thought about it and he spotted the scam. Well, the first scam anyway.
Paul did everything he was supposed to do. When he spotted something wasn't right, he called his bank and had his card cancelled. So you might think, well, he lost 99p, so what? Lesson learnt, right? Wrong.
It was sort of mid-afternoon. We had this phone call from somebody claiming to be from Santander Fraud Department.
And there it is. The scammers can no longer use Paul's bank card, but rather than give up, they call him with a second scam they had ready and waiting.
So I had a chat with them, and then they started asking how it had happened. They started asking the details of the text and the message and so on. And I said, well, it was mainly at Barbara, but it was my card that was used. So then they started asking, did Barbara have any other accounts that her name was on?
I said to them that, that we run a food bank at the church and we've got this charity account.
The scammer passed that valuable information on to a mate. That mate then called Barbara back, claiming to be from the co-op where she kept the charity account.
They felt that we had a malware in our system and that they had to clean it out. Well, we're not very computer literate, really.
Terrified of losing the charity's money, the Giels were persuaded by the scammers to download a program called AnyDesk. Now, this piece of software is perfectly legal. In fact, it's a very useful piece of software that you might have used yourselves. It allows anyone to have access to your machine remotely. That means that they can see what you can see.
Then they said, would Barbara open the co-op bank account? And he kept stressing, don't tell me anything, don't tell me any numbers, don't tell me anything, but will you enter your passcodes and information and get into the account, which we did.
Using different callers makes the scam seem more genuine and gives the scammers even more chances to steal. Throughout that evening, they kept calling the Giels, logging into their computer as Paul and Barbara logged into various bank accounts. When they checked the next morning to see if the virus had gone, they found all their money was gone, and so was the food banks.
They had taken £53,000 out of this account. We lost our money, and we'd also lost the church money as well. But our money didn't bother us at that time because it was ours, we'd done it, and that was it. But the church and the food bank money, that really hurt that I'd lost that. I was just in pieces thinking, how on earth will the food bank manage?
Being Christians, being church people, being people that have always trusted people and always probably believed for the good in people, you know, I just fell for it, hook, line and sinker, really. I was easy to scam, probably.
I mean, you look back and you think, why did I do it?
Think about all the scams we've talked about until now. They all sound quite different. Criminals have used different approaches, pretended to be different people, and used different methods to get hold of the money. But they all rely on one weakness: us.
Each time, the scammers convince the victims to override their own bank's security systems. This is sometimes known as people hacking, but some people hackers are actually trying to make us all safer. Jenny Radcliffe is one of them. She teaches her clients to spot the signs before it's too late.
So Jenny, tell me a little bit about what you do.
So my role is a social engineer, and what that is is non-technical hacking.
So you're hacking humans, basically.
We're hacking humans.
So give me an example of how you've used social engineering in your line of work.
We did one organisation that was a very rule-driven organisation. If the manager said, do this, then people did it.
Yeah.
And to get into that site, we actually just put a sign, a piece of paper on the door saying, please do not shut this door, and then waited for someone to see that sign and obey it. And they left the door open and we got into their site. People really feel guilty and they regret that they fell for these things because they think it was obvious. But when you're caught up in that net, in that scammer's net, and that web of deceit, it's very, very hard to see clearly, and that's what they bank on, and it works very well.
And they don't care, do they? I mean, to them, it's money.
No, it's money. Morals don't come into this, right? Everyone's a target. They don't care if it's a charity. That is what they do, and they do it 24/7.
So what's Jenny's advice to prevent people hacking?
I mean, the thing is, we cannot possibly tell the public what every scam is going to look like, what every script is going to be like. We don't need to. What we need to do is look out for those red flags, the emotion, the money, the urgency, that call to action. Click on it, send it, do something, and then we need to know, verify, verify, verify. It's just about having a secure mindset when we're approached with those red flags, and money, no matter how it comes up, yours, theirs, move it, change it, receive it in some sort of reward or prize, that should be a red flag to really think, who is it who's asking me these questions and how do I check it's real?
And I think, really importantly, don't be embarrassed to say no.
Absolutely.
Don't be embarrassed to say, look, I don't want to be rude, or I'm not doubting what you're saying, but I'm going to hang up now, or I'm not going to reply to this until I am satisfied that you are who you say you are. That is not a rude thing to say.
Absolutely not. And people who are calling you genuinely from your genuine bank or a genuine organisation, they know that people should be checking these things, and they're happy for you to do it.
And in fact, don't you think, Jenny, that actually might be a test in itself? Because if you say, look, I want to take a moment, I'm going to make my own inquiries, I'm going to use my own phone. If the reply is, no, you really shouldn't hang up because your money's, that's when you know you're talking to scammers.
That's true, but remember they are prepared for it. So it might be, yeah, that's fine, you can do that in a minute, but first.
But first, yeah, exactly.
Just check it yourself.
Well, that was a really fascinating chat, because when you get into the psychology of scams, you really start to see patterns emerge. Now, whether it's by design or by accident, scammers have become very good at pressing our psychological buttons. But one of the things that's becoming very clear is one of the favorite approaches seems to be the idea that you cause panic and alarm, so you get an emotional response, immediately followed by a request to take action.
However, this is by no means the only approach. As we get wiser to the scammers' tactics, they evolve and develop new and more dangerous ones.
In a lot of these scams that we've seen, victims have to do something, take some action, click on a link, scan a QR code, visit a website. But there is a scam out there where victims do nothing and still find that their money has gone missing.
Charlotte was recently hit with this wicked new scam.
Myself and my friend were going to the gym close by to where I work. When we got there, we were told not to bother getting our gym passes out, which activate the security barriers, because they weren't working. So I was in the gym for longer than I normally would have been, which is very unfortunate. So when I returned to my locker, it was open and empty. And obviously, I went up to reception, and before I even said anything, there was a lady there who probably read the expression on my face and said the words, "Oh no, not you as well." And it turns out that another lady had also had her locker broken into and her belongings stolen. So there were two of us suddenly without anything, without our phones, our keys, our bank cards. Everything had gone.
I mean, that's a terrible, terrible position to be, that realization. Your cards, your phone. What did you do?
So the first thing I did was panic, as any other person I think would have done. But I'm processing this, thinking, right, okay, I can't even get home to my flat. The first thing I did was phone the police. I just thought I need to report this and was given a crime reference number and then immediately phoned my bank. The priority obviously is to cancel my cards.
Yeah.
So the operator on the phone to the bank says, I've cancelled your cards. And then he starts giving me the bad news.
Oh.
So there's already been activity on my account during this time.
Oh dear. Well, scammers know time isn't on their side, so they will often do as much damage as they can before they're stopped.
So what was the bad news? How much money were they spending?
Well, it just got worse during that phone call, really. They'd been to an Apple store in London, in Westfield, and they'd spent around £3,000 in the first Apple store.
Yeah.
And they didn't stop there. After that, they got a cab down to Regent Street and went to a second Apple store.
Right.
And spent just over £1,000. And then after that, they went to Selfridges,
okay.
And they'd spent £950 there, so just under £1,000 in Selfridges as well.
So that initial phone call, which is just you sort of saying, can you please cancel my cards because I've lost them, they then tell you you're out of pocket to the tune of?
Just under £5,000. It would have been more, but some transactions managed to be cancelled.
Okay.
The thing that confused me was that I didn't have that amount in my bank account. So how on earth have they managed to spend this much money? The call handler from the bank tells me, oh, the reason they've managed to spend more than what's in your current account is because they've also hacked into your savings account and transferred your savings to your current account, which is then connected to the card, and they've used chip and PIN to spend these amounts. But in my head, that didn't make any sense. I thought, how can this person know my PIN number?
And she isn't the only one. We know of similar crimes in which victims lose their phones and their cards, and then their money. The scam exploits a feature in many banking apps, a PIN reminder. But to get at it, the thieves need to get into the victims' locked phones and their banking app.
Most of the victims were using an added layer of security called two-factor authentication in order to get access to their banking. Now that is when you get a text message with a 6-digit code, you enter that online, the bank verifies that it's you with the phone and they give you access to your accounts. But what Charlotte found was that the scammers had a very simple workaround. They simply took her phone, popped out the SIM card to it, and popped it into one of their own phones.
Any text messages sent to Charlotte now appear on their phone. They then install her bank's app and call to say that they're locked out of Charlotte's account. The bank sends a one-time passcode by text, which they can read, and they're in. In every episode, I'll show you how to stop scams happening to you in less than 60 seconds.
The SIM swap scam, it can be really devastating, but you can prevent it just by changing a few settings on your phone. If you're on an iPhone, you go into your settings, then mobile data, then SIM PIN. If you switch it on, it is going to ask you for your default SIM PIN. Now, each telecoms provider has got their own, really easy to find on Google. You enter the default and then you set your own unique PIN. If you are on an Android phone, it is a little bit different. You go into your settings and then you go to biometrics and security. Now, at the bottom of that page, you get other security settings. You click on that. On the top, it says SIM card lock, the same process. Click on that, it's going to ask you for your default PIN. You put that in and then you put your own unique PIN. By doing that, you guarantee that the SIM swap scam is no longer able to be carried out using your SIM.
As for Charlotte, she felt entitled to a refund because she lost the money through no fault of her own. The bank didn't see it that way.
My bank calls me and tells me that they won't be refunding me the money.
They're not going to be giving you the money?
They're not going to give me anything back because the person who was responsible had used my PIN number and they were accusing me of being negligent with my security by leaving my PIN number somewhere that they could have accessed in the bag itself, on the card itself, saved in my phone. All these sorts of ridiculous accusations and ideas that obviously no one would ever do.
And none of that is true?
None of that's true, no.
And when you tell them that, their response is?
We don't believe you.
Right.
I'm now significantly out of pocket here and I'm feeling like the criminal. and distressed. I didn't know what to do, so I did what anyone does these days. I posted something online just to see if anyone else had been in a similar situation.
That's a good idea. If you've asked for help and you're not getting it, speak out. Charlotte's bank decided to reconsider her case.
They still didn't really accept that I wasn't negligent with my security, but they said that they were now more open to other ways that this could have happened.
Okay. First things first, did you get your money back?
Eventually I did get my money back.
All of it?
All of it, yes.
Okay. But the bank never really said, here's your money back, because actually what happened was not your fault.
I think that there's a huge loophole in the system here, and banks don't quite know how to deal with it. And this is happening now on such a big scale that banks probably are reluctant to accept, that it's not the customer's fault immediately. And the customer has to fight it then in order to get that payout.
I find cases like Charlotte's extremely frustrating because not only has she been put in a hugely vulnerable and compromising position with no one to turn to, but also it's only through her own persistence and hard work and dedication that she managed to actually get her money back, and that's just not right.
However, as Charlotte proved, the situation for scam victims isn't totally hopeless. And there is good news in other cases we featured in this show. Just like Charlotte, Christina felt her bank was wrong to blame her for losing £25,000.
She wrote to her MP and the bank refunded her in full, plus £500 for distress caused.
Even better, they've updated their security systems so customers are protected from that particular QR code scam. Both the Giels and Angela bank with Lending Standards Board members, so they did get help. The Giels and the food bank were given full refunds straight away. Angela, who was tricked into misleading her bank, faced a trickier situation.
Now, she didn't get all of her money back. She sent around £10,000. She got about £6,500 of it back, so she was still £3,500 out of pocket to the scammers.
It's a stark reminder for us all to look for those red flags: urgency, emotion, a call to action, and to think before you act.
Above all, remember, if someone asks you for money, then it's okay to ask a few awkward questions in return.
Next time, how to stop a scam while you shop.
Put the name of what you're about to pay money for into a search engine along with the word scam next to it.
Meet another victim fighting for justice.
Did your bank acknowledge that you'd been scammed?
No, my bank actually told me that I hadn't been scammed.
And the scammers selling cars that don't exist.
In the evening, I called my bank. I said to them, I think I've been scammed.